2 minutes.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We want to share the latest updates on Tropical Depression Debby as the storm continues to impact North Carolina. Our priority. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us as we manage. We want to share the latest updates on tropical depression, strong wind gusts as the storm continues to impact power outages and damage across North Carolina. Is to protect power restoration as we manage the impact. Continue to work diligently to restore tornadoes, strong wind gusts, outages, flooding, total power outages, and damage across North Carolina. They're down to close to 20,000 now, so about continue to work diligently to restore electricity. Make no mistake, outages, this stubborn storm, almost 500,000 and its effect during the day yesterday. They're down to close to 20,000 North Carolina has not seen the sustained damaging high winds that come with a hurricane. Make no mistake, this storm, this stubborn storm, slow-moving and its effects rainfall across North Carolina has not seen the sustained damaging high winds that come with a hurricane. By the National Weather Service. This storm brought us slow-moving, relentless rainfall across several tornadoes across our state. To confirm. One has been confirmed by the National Weather Service, but we believe more tornadoes. Multiple river gauges are at major flood stage, and additional flooding could occur this weekend or early next week. And we must continue that information at fiman.nc.gov. Major flood stage. And additional flooding could occur this weekend or early next week. And over the next several days, you can see that information at fiman.nc.gov. Additional flash flooding, especially across eastern North Carolina. And over the next several days, with likely afternoon showers, stops in Kinston, of additional flash damage caused by suspected tornadoes that hit Lucama in Wilson County. Yesterday, I went down east and met with first responders at two stops as well as the resilience and looked at damage caused by suspected tornadoes that hit Lucama in Wilson County. Teams will be there to help. I'm so grateful for the efforts of our first responders. The state emergency response team, as well as the resilient spirit. We've activated more than 374 soldiers and airmen from the North Carolina National Guard. Teams will be there to help and deployed swiftwater rescue teams. The state emergency response team will also continue its safety. We've activated more than 374 soldiers and airmen from the North Carolina National Guard and to warn people about flooded areas and swiftwater rescue teams that have been engaged in getting the efforts of all of our first responders. Our Department of Transportation water from this storm will continue to impact some communities for several days and down trees. We ask people to keep listening to their work officials and the efforts of evacuate if you're advised to do so, because the water from the storm will continue to impact some communities for several days. Get out of the danger zone. We ask people to keep listening. Several shelters are open. Evacuate if you're advised to do so. Visit your county government website or visit readync.gov. Get out of the danger zone. Several shelters today. I'm joined for those who need by them. Emergency Management Director your county government website, Transportation Secretary ReadyNC.gov, Attorney General for more information. The Adjutant General today. I'm joined National Guard by Emergency Management Director Will Ray, the Commander of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol Colonel Freddie Johnson, Emergency Management Assistant Director for Planning Katie Webster, and FEMA Federal Coordinating Officer Rod McAllister. We also have FEMA Region 4 Administrator Robert Saman, who is also with us on the ground here in Raleigh. Our American Sign Language interpreter is David Payne. And behind the scenes, our Spanish language interpreters are Jackie Mativier and Erica Kugler. At this time, I will ask Director Ray for his update.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. We're continuing to experience the impacts from Debby as the system fully exits the state today. From tornado damage to flash flooding, communities across our state have been and continue to be engaged in response efforts. We have reports of tornado touchdowns or related damage in Wilson, Franklin, Greene, Sampson, and Pender counties. The National Weather Service has confirmed that an EF2 tornado touchdown in Greene County community of Snow Hill at 2:08 a.m. on Thursday morning. The National Weather Service in Raleigh will be conducting damage assessments on the other reported tornadoes today. As of this morning, there are just under 20,000 power outages statewide. Utility partners remain engaged here at the state EOC and are continuing restoration operations statewide. In many areas, trees have fallen due to saturated soil and have taken down power lines. Please treat all downed power lines as energized and do not approach them. We have 27 local states of emergency and 1 jurisdiction with a voluntary evacuation order remaining in place. 9 shelters remain open with approximately 56 occupants as of overnight. Inland riverine flooding remains the primary threat to North Carolina as a result of Debby. Due to the extensive rainfall on already saturated ground, we are monitoring levels on a number of our river basins, where as of this morning, 5 flood gauges are at moderate or high flooding, including the Lumber River at Lumberton, the Tar River at Lewisburg, the Neuse River at Clayton, the Haw River, and the Lower PD River. An additional 7 flood gauges are forecast to moderate or major flood stage through the weekend and into the beginning of the week, including the Cape Fear River, the Neuse, the Black, the Northeast Cape Fear, and portions of the Lumber and Tar Rivers, as well as the Haw River. There were several dam breaches yesterday, and we are monitoring 7 additional dams across the state with our partners in the Department of Environmental Quality. Our deployed swiftwater rescue teams remain on station across the state to support local operations as needed, and since Wednesday have had over 170 interactions. This could be structures searched or individuals evacuated or rescued. The men and women of the North Carolina National Guard and the State Highway Patrol also remain deployed across the state to support local jurisdictions, and as the skies begin to clear, aviation assets from both agencies are being brought up as a part of the North Carolina Helo Aquatic Rescue Program to assist with search and rescue as well as commodity shipments to impacted communities. We are also bringing in 2 heavy lift helicopters via Interstate Mutual Aid to be on station in North Carolina to support large-scale movement if needed. A state medical support shelter for those that have had to evacuate but need skilled medical care has been established by the North Carolina Office of EMS, our healthcare coalitions, and our partners in the state medical response system. The site in the Sandhills area became operational yesterday afternoon. As the rivers crest in the coming days and cleanup begins in areas that have experienced damage, please avoid travel if possible. If you must travel, please visit drivenc.gov to check roadway status. This website is updated regularly by our partners in the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Yesterday, FEMA approved 8 additional counties to be added to the pre-landfall declaration that we received earlier in the week: Allegheny, Cabarrus, Iredell, Mecklenburg, Rowan, Stanley, Union, and Wilkes. This is in addition to the previously approved 66 counties. And as a reminder, this is to support initial emergency protective measures related to mass care, including evacuation and sheltering and direct federal assistance. As we look to transition from active response into recovery over the next week, we will work with our local jurisdictions on damage assessments to assist in determining eligibility for additional state or federal programs. For those that are in flood-prone areas, please make sure you are informed, that you have a plan of action to quickly evacuate if necessary, and that you're receiving information from reliable sources, such as local emergency management offices and the National Weather Service. Enable emergency alerts on your mobile device to make sure you receive those life-saving notifications. As a reminder, the North Carolina Flood Inundation Mapping and Alert Network, or FIMAN, provides access to the state's nearly 600 river flood gauges. As the governor said, visit fiman.nc.gov and sign up for alerts for the gauges closest to your home. Remember to utilize 911 only for emergencies. We would ask you to remain alert, informed, and check on your neighbors and those in your community who may need assistance. Together, taking care of our families, neighbors, and our communities, we are stronger and make for more resilient communities. Finally, I want to acknowledge and thank those that have left their families and worked long hours, responded to emergency calls for assistance, and have staffed emergency operations centers and incident command posts across our state to keep all North Carolinians safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ray. Now we will hear from Transportation Secretary Joey Hopkins.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning. We peaked with about 290 road closures closed at 8:30 last night. As of just a few minutes ago, that's down to 205, and that's 10 primary routes. Main closures are in Robeson, Chatham, Sampson counties. They had the highest volume. People can check travel conditions like already been mentioned at drivenc.gov. This site does have a toggle for Tropical Storm Debby to let you see the closures directly related to the storm. Yesterday, we had record use on that site, and some users experienced some issues of getting it to log on and come on. We've worked with our sister agency, the Department of Information Technology, to increase the bandwidth, and it should be working fine today. As has been stated, several counties experienced tornadoes or tornado-like winds yesterday as the storm passed through the state. Notably, our maintenance forces responded to and removed trees across Wilson County as a storm came through there and touched down. Our staff was busy setting barricades at the hundreds of closures across the state, and I do want to stress to anyone that encounters a barricade or a road closed sign or high water sign to remember to turn around, don't drown. Never drive around barricades. They're there to protect you, and it is also against the law to do so. Our crews are opening roads when it's safe to do so, but some of these roads have been damaged by the rise in water and need further repairs. Our crews are assessing this damage and will work to get those open as swiftly as possible. In other locations, we have trees that have fallen on power lines, and we're working with the local power companies. Once they deem it safe, we can work to clear and reopen these roads. And even though the storm has moved out quickly, rivers are expected to crest in the coming days, and some are projected to remain in moderate to near major flood stage for several days into next week, as Director Ray mentioned. And while no interstates have major impacts at this time, we are monitoring potential flood areas around I-95 in Lumberton, I-40 in Burgall, and US 74 near Boardman and Whiteville. The ports of Wilmington and Morehead City are operating on a normal schedule today. The Wilmington Harbor had been closed to inbound and outbound vessel traffic, but it reopened to vessel traffic earlier this morning. We had also suspended or reduced runs on a number of our ferry routes in the eastern part of the state, but thankfully all of our ferries are back on their normal schedule. However, I still recommend everyone check the ferry schedules beforehand if you're traveling east. North Carolina by train passenger rail service was interrupted Thursday after the storm caused trees to fall across the tracks. Several trips between Raleigh and Charlotte had to be canceled, and 2 others were canceled this morning. Our railroad partners are checking the track, and we expect normal passenger service to resume later today once everything is cleared up. You can visit Amtrak.com for the latest schedules. Our Integrated Mobility Division has been in close contact with public transit systems across the state As of late Thursday, there were 9 transit systems that had no service due to the storm and 9 others that were only providing limited service. We also had a few driver's license offices closed yesterday due to weather, but expect them all to be open today. Road tests were also canceled Thursday at 45 driver's license offices due to unsafe conditions. As of 9 a.m. this morning, road tests are being conducted at all but 2 offices. And a total of 30 license plate agencies closed yesterday due to impacts from Debby. This morning, there are no license plate agencies closed due to the storm. Any canceled appointments will be rescheduled at a time that's convenient for our customers. Even though Debby has left our state, we're still seeing remnants from the storm, and I implore citizens to stay aware. Far too many people are killed when they try to drive through the flooded roads after storms have passed. Please don't let your guard down. And again, check Drive NC for road conditions and never drive around flooded roads or barricades. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Hopkins. Now I'll ask Attorney General Josh Stein to come forward.
Thank you, Governor Cooper. First, I want to offer prayers to everyone impacted by the storm here in North Carolina and across the Southeast, especially the family and friends of those who lost their lives. Second, I want to thank all of our first responders for working nonstop to keep people safe, to rescue folks who are in distress. There is no job more important than saving the lives of North Carolinians, and they have done incredible work for our people. I also want to thank our utility workers and the DOT employees and everyone else focused on getting things back to normal as quickly and safely as possible. There are many homes and businesses faced with the same challenges as our infrastructure. And even as the threat of Debby begins to recede, we must remain vigilant about other risks. Scammers who try to take advantage of hardworking North Carolinians who are repairing and trying to get their lives back in order after the storm. Here are some tips for folks who have been impacted by the storm. Beware of anyone showing up at your house offering to do some kind of service or repair. Unfortunately, we have a lot of experience with out-of-state companies coming and chasing storms and ripping off our people. Talk to your neighbors. Research companies before you sign a contract with them to do work on your home. Make sure that contractor is licensed. Get more than one written estimate about the deal to make sure you're getting the best one. And finally, when you choose your company, make sure you have a written contract that includes a clear description of the scope of work and the payment schedule. Do not pay too much up front or pay for all the work until it is done. Finally, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. I also want to remind folks to be on the lookout for price gouging. We've had a handful of complaints, 13 so far. When Governor Cooper signed the state of emergency, that triggers our state price gouging law, which prohibits any seller from charging too much for a good or service. In these tough times, the vast majority of North Carolina businesses do the right thing by the people of North Carolina. They try to serve their neighbors who are in need, but there are almost always a few bad actors who try to exploit the moment and do not play by the rules. If you see someone charging an unreasonably excessive price for anything that you need to preserve the life, safety, health, or economic well-being during this state of emergency, please let my office know. You can file a complaint at 877-5-NO-SCAM or ncdoj.gov/price gouging. When we see these cases, we will act. We've won back more than $1 million for North Carolina consumers who were taken advantage of after storms in the past. Times like these require the best of us, that we look out for our friends, our neighbors, our community, something that the people of North Carolina are exceptional at. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Stein. We'll now take questions, and for those who have questions, if you can come over to either side to the mics if you have questions. Adam?
Yeah, Adam Ladner from the News and Observer. This is for either the governor or Director Ray. On the dam breaches, could you provide any more detail about where those are and maybe also where the water is high right now, kind of where the state's looking for potential risk?
Thank you. So thanks for that question, Adam. I think first and foremost, I think we want to make sure folks are aware of some of the information that we shared about the flood river gauges that we are also monitoring, both us along with our partners in DOT and the State Highway Patrol. Currently, we have dams across Guilford, Moore, Harnett, Cumberland, Robinson, Rowan, Wake, and Mecklenburg. Again, these are not ones that are urgently or imminently that we have imminent concerns about. These are ones that we are simply, along with DEQ and our local jurisdictions, keeping an eye on where the water levels are and what potential inundation could look like.
And there were some that already did breach, is that correct?
Correct.
Where are those?
There were some, I believe, in Harnett, and we would have to get you, I don't want to misspeak, so I will get you the other, I think, 2 locations we had. But there were some across the state that have breached, and local jurisdictions, DOT, partners at DEQ are actively engaged in supporting those.
Michael Perchik, ABC 11. Do you happen to have any information on if there are any storm deaths? If so, where those occurred, and any potential injuries outside that initial incident?
We have 1 confirmed storm death in Wilson County. There is an unconfirmed storm death in Rockingham County at this point, but we have to wait for the confirmation of that. That's what we have. I believe that's it. And we are thinking about them and their families. I was there in Wilson County yesterday, and a number of people who knew the gentleman who lost his life, and it's a tough time for people, for sure.
Michael Hyland from CBS 17. You mentioned being in Wilson yesterday. As far as that school that was damaged, has there been any talk yet of what the state's role may be in trying to help the community with rebuilding from the damage that they had there?
Say that again, Michael.
The school that was damaged, has there been any talk yet with local officials about what assistance the state may provide in helping them with that?
So I talked with the superintendent yesterday about what they plan to do. They're going to get an assessment and inspection of the building. This tornado was very powerful, and it destroyed a lot of the 6th and 7th grade classes, but left the 8th grade classes untouched. I think there's a thought of maybe trying to have some of the classes open in the school. I don't know whether that's going to be possible or not. They obviously are getting in touch with the Department of Public Instruction. They have insurance for this. We will work with them about any other streams of funding that would be available to them. The superintendent was very determined that he wanted to make sure that these children got to school and got their education, and so they were going to look at all of their options regarding what they would do next.
And Attorney General Stein, are you able to talk any more just generally about the kind of complaints you all have received related to price gouging? Like, what kinds of things are we talking about?
The majority of complaints we've seen have had to do with gas. There have also been complaints about groceries, about hotel rooms, about rental car agencies. Basically, any good or service that we need to stay well can potentially be an instance of price gouging. I also want to underscore that just because the complaints have come in does not mean that there have been 13 instances of price gouging. We invite people to file complaints with us because it's difficult for folks to appreciate whether or not price gouging occurred. That's why we conduct investigations, and then if we conclude that there has been price gouging, we will act aggressively. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being with us, and stay safe out there, everybody.